Radio Raheem here with Kathy Duva, getting ready to promote yet another Sergey Kovalev Crusher event in New York. The last one, you guys were fantastically successful. 2 rounds, knockout, everybody was happy. This one, I think people don't really recognize the challenge that's in front of Kovalev because his opponent's name maybe doesn't ring out in America and doesn't have the kind of recognition that it might deserve. Can you talk to me about the matchup and what his opponent brings this time out?
Well, this is a guy who earned his shot and accepted the fight, which put him miles ahead of everyone else because everyone else turned it down. It's hard to get people to fight Sergey. But Igor Mikhalkin is a legit contender. He is a difficult style. He's that kind of fighter that a lot of guys don't want to be in the ring with. He's a southpaw, he moves, he's cagey. Sergey, you know, he has fought so many times I've actually lost count of how many title fights he's had. And if anything, here's a champion that will truly take on whoever comes, and this is the guy who's coming next Saturday. So,
well, you said he earned the fight and he accepted the fight, which you would think in boxing would be a pretty common thing. You earn the fight, you want the fight, you get the fight. But before Sergey had his 2 matches with Ward, you were complaining like it was really difficult to get the opponents that you wanted. Obviously, Stevenson was elusive, and it could be a kind of backhanded good thing in that with the loss, has it been easier at all to get the opponents you want? Have you had any, easier time putting these matches together?
No, I was kind of hoping that would happen, but it didn't.
Sometimes it goes that way.
There are no fools, no. We have a world today in which the incentives are still a little perverse. Guys are being offered more money to fight easier fights. I've been doing a lot of reflecting lately as Main Events is coming up on its 40th, that is 40 anniversary in a few months, and people have been asking me about it, and I'm realizing, back in the day, the toughest fighters fought the toughest fighters because that's how you made the most money.
Right.
There was no big payday for an easy fight. There was no alternative like that. Today, there are people who have that alternative, and as long as they do, we're going to keep seeing fights we don't want to see.
Well, right now, there's a good crop of light heavyweights coming up.
Yes.
Stevenson is willing to get in the ring, at least finally, with someone, so it turns out that person is Badou Jack, which makes the winner of that fight a possibility for Sergey?
Oh, look, we're there. I'll call the winner again the day after, like usual. And if it's Leonard Ellerbe, then maybe it's easier. I don't know. But we're absolutely... He's made it clear today he wants to unify all the titles again, and that was his goal originally, and it's his goal again, and makes my job simpler in the sense that I know exactly what I'm zeroing in on. But what makes my job hard again is people being offered far more money to fight easier fights.
Well, Sullivan-Barrera is the fight we expected to see. I mean, that would, if you had asked me on the night in New York after the fight, who's next? It's going to be Barrera, right? He's on your card. He's got a very tough fight ahead of him, but why not this time?
Well, he was in the mandatory position to fight Dmitry Bivol. He was offered the Kovalev fight. He was offered far more money for the Kovalev fight, but he chose to fight Bivol instead.
So
that was his choice. You know what? I don't have to get in the ring and put the gloves on, so I have to respect the choices these guys make.
Okay, so given your druthers, Kathy Duva's world, do we see the winner of Adonis Stevenson and Badou Jack face Kovalev, or do we see the winner of Bivol and Barrera face Kovalev?
We might see Kovalev's mandatory, as Agus mentioned, because that's due. I love all of these fights. I would like to just line them up. I don't know if Bivol will be ready. That's really up to his people. I don't know that he's well known enough or experienced enough at this point to be fighting Sergey next. That's really, again, that's for his management to decide. If it was Sullivan, he will be offered the fight again for sure. If it's not him, we'll see who the mandatory is. It may be Marcus Brown from what I can see, because Vosdik is moving out to fight for a WBC interim title. So the next guy in line, I believe, is Marcus Brown. Would love to make that fight. Love to bring him back to New York this summer. But Sergey's got to get through, this fight first. And again, Jack, Stevenson, yeah, well, fine. You know what? I'm not chasing Stevenson anymore. I spent a good 3 or 4 years of my life doing that. And if Jack is successful, we'll be calling Leonard Ellerbe. Why not?
Well, there's an outlier out there in Beterbiev who maybe if he's does sign, as the rumors say, with Top Rank, could be an easier fight for you to make. Promoters can work together on this. Is that something in the back of your mind? Is that, you know, a fight that you would like, maybe even above these two, if it's easier to make?
If I can make that fight, that's a fight Sergey would love to have. We offered BeterBev $500,000 a couple of years ago for the fight. He didn't take it. I don't know that he could get that now. But you know what? Aram has his own TV network deal now. There's issues at a higher level, you know, a higher pay grade than mine. So I can only control what I can control. We'll go out there, we will talk to everybody as we always do, and we will make the best fight we can.
Well, with that said, obviously the promoter shell game has always been an issue with boxing and matchmaking. With more networks in the game now, which we would say that Heyman and PBC, they opened up some new channels and they took a little bit of the monopoly away from these pay networks. Have you ultimately, whether how you feel about him personally and how it happened aside, has it been a good thing for boxing? Is it making it easier at all for you guys to work together and put these fights together? Or is it better for boxing? How do you assess where we are now from where we were, say, 4 years ago?
You know what? I don't want to be a hater, but it's not made it easier, and I don't think the sport is as big as it was a few years ago. I think it has had the opposite effect, as I thought it would going in, but it happened. And I think, you know, when these are part of the perverse incentives, when people are being offered more money than, you know, a fight will legitimately produce to fight, it's very hard to convince them. And I think you see the PBCs now starting to have those troubles within their own group. You know, when you've been offered far more money to fight an easy fight, well, then you're going to want even more to fight a tough fight. Well, it's not there. You haven't built the fan base. You haven't. The ratings have done nothing but gone down. So, no, I don't think it's helped at all. I think, if anything, we were on an upswing when this started, and I think that it's come, I mean, I don't think it. Look at the ratings for HBO and Showtime. They're both lower than they were.
What do you think can pull, you've described something of a nosedive, so I'll use that terminology. What would you think would pull us out of that nosedive, or at least this descent as you calculate it in boxing? Is it the fighters that need to say, you know what, I don't want the more money, I want the better fight? Is it the promoter? Like, who does this?
They have to get back to economic laws of supply and demand. That's what makes it happen. And you know, and another thing, there's been this tendency lately to beat up on HBO, and I'll say this. I'm still waiting for someone to show me when a fight gets a big rating on another network that involves a fighter who hasn't fought on HBO first. Because I don't think it's ever happened. And so we need to get back to home, to the mothership. I think we need to get back to understanding that, you know, again, I've taken abuse from a lot of places. Well, why don't you take them to Showtime? You know, nothing against Showtime, but the fact is, you build your brand on HBO. They're McDonald's. I have a guy on my staff who gets Wendy's every day because it's so good. And you know what? It is a better product. But it hasn't taken McDonald's place because that's how branding works. And it doesn't matter who's got the superior product. I know who's got the superior brand. And that is, whether people like it or not, the place where most people see the stars coming up. And if they're not there, they're not getting the fighters are not becoming brands in the eyes of the general public. It just doesn't happen. Yeah, the people who are into boxing, the people who love boxing, they know. To them, the guys fighting on other networks are just as big as the guys fighting on HBO. Unfortunately for us, in the general world, that's just not the case. And I think that has been something that, you know, the whole sport has suffered from a bit lately, is this idea that, you know, I don't want to fight on HBO. I want my guys to fight on HBO because they'll build a brand there that they will take with them wherever they go when it's over. And I think that back in a world where you know, they had more money than anybody and they could just get whatever they wanted, I think we were this whole sport was bigger and better as a result. There were more opportunities for everyone, not just on that platform but on others. And today, where everybody's trying to become the #1 platform, I don't think Wendy's and Burger King are going to ever take McDonald's place.
Well, with this Sabransky knockout, I would say Kovalev is certainly back on brand.
Yes,
But as eager as I know you are to work with Andre Ward one more time.
Don't even say it.
But I wouldn't bring this up, honestly, just because you were friends, I like you, I didn't even want to put you through this, but they are still on social media, like, tit for tat, back and forth. Oh, remember when I knocked you down? Remember when I knocked you out? Remember when, and this is going on in the present day, and I was just talking to Sergey, and he had to admit, like, what he really wants, maybe more than any name that we put out there, is a Ward rubber match. Do you think that building his brand, getting through some of these fights, getting him back to like really feeling and looking invincible, as a promoter, is it not necessary to try to draw Ward out of retirement for one super fight, which, neither one of the first two fights could be, they're super fights to me because I enjoyed them and they were a big deal, but as you just said, the common fan, the casual fan, that didn't reach super fight marquee status. The third one could possibly do that. Would that be something that you're trying to work on?
Here's the thing. You'd have to find someone who's willing to pay Ward more money than the fight will gross, because that's what it takes, frankly. And if someone does that, give me a call. But, we're right now, my job is to remind people that, notwithstanding what happened in the ring a couple of times between two particular guys, Sergey's still the man in the division. He's still the man to beat in the division, and he's still the most exciting fighter in the division. So we're just going to keep bringing him back as long as he wants to do this, and as long as the fans want to see him. And where this leads us, we'll see.
Well, we are going to see the dominant light heavyweight champion in the ring on March 3rd in New York at Madison Square Garden. Once again, Radio Raheem with Kathy Duva, taking up your time, putting you through all the stress, and you always take it like a champ. Radio Raheem with Kathy Duva.